members of the committee. In my written statements, I talked about some of the things we've been working on since the Sandy Recovery Improvement Act passed. Mr. Chairman, to this committee, I have to say you helped us address many issues that had come up repeatedly. First off, I have to recognize the fact that you gave us the authority to recognize the tribal governments as an entity that could deal directly with the President and requesting disaster declaration, something they had sought for a long time. This committee ensured that that became part of the legislation, and we've implemented it. You've also given us tools that we had identified through pilots and lessons learned in managing debris, but also in making sure that as we begin the process of rebuilding, we're able to speed up the process of identifying those large projects, obligating monies, and allowing more discretion to state and local officials on how to build back better. That was an important tool that we began using as far back as some damage from Hurricane Irene with the State of Vermont. And it is giving us flexibility that states and local governments have asked for in building back better and building back to the future. The trends in disasters are not surprising to me. With an aging infrastructure, a concentration of populations in highly vulnerable areas that fortunately don't have a lot of disasters, when they do occur, the costs are substantial, particularly when you look at what happens when the number of public buildings that are under or uninsured are damaged or destroyed. I think things such as dealing with individual losses that were uninsured, dealing with debris costs, dealing with response costs are always going to be part of the formula. But when you look at, most recently in Sandy, the $1 billion and more in some projects we're having to pay to rebuild structures, it's important for us to make sure that in the future we have built back those structures to where they are insurable, and look at making sure that the insurance provisions are more strenuously applied and less opportunities to allow structures to come back for repeated assistance because they weren't insured. We firmly believe that we should do more diligent work with our state and local partners to ensure that when we build back, we just don't look at old data, we just don't use cost-benefit analysis, don't account for the future. But we also think we need to engage the private sector more strongly in insuring risk. And in those areas where the private sector cannot insure that risk, ask hard questions, as you have pointed out. Should we build back where we were? Should we build back the way it was? Or do we need to change? Because if anything, we know that many areas are subject to repeated disasters. I personally went into Arkansas last year to see damage from a tornado. I saw a school, fortunately not occupied, nearly completed, that was destroyed. I was informed by our staff there from the regional office that that school was being rebuilt from a 2010 tornado where it had been destroyed. It was destroyed again. What really troubled me was we did not have an opportunity or did not seek the opportunity to make sure that school had safe rooms in it. And we have committed to and have now established that in tornado-prone areas, when we are dealing with schools and other public structures, that we will find a way to make sure that we fund safe rooms to protect children during tornadoes. So you've given us a lot of tools. Many of them are still in the implementation phase. Some of them have not gone as fast as I would like. Part of it was the implementation and getting buy-in from our partners at the state and local level. But I'm seeing early success, and I think it will be a good discussion to have with you in the committee over our findings, our challenges, and where success is taking place. I firmly believe that the role of the Federal Government is to support and not supplant our state and local officials, that FEMA is a support agency, and the cost of disasters is a shared responsibility. But I do think it's appropriate that when disasters exceed the capabilities of state and local governments, that we must be there to support them, not only the initial response, but to ensure successful recovery. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your testimony, Administrator Fugate. I will now begin the first